heading through hour two here on the Steve Gruber Show, 45 after. So much going on. Our next guest, Edwin Walker from U.S. Law Shield, one of the country's leading voices on Second Amendment issues. Does the new federal court ruling infringe on the rights of gun owners? A major gun rights case may soon be headed to the U.S. Supreme Court. What could it mean for you? What could it mean for you? If does it mean that you can be frisked anytime, even if you have a concealed carry permit? Edwin Walker here again. Edwin, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you for having me, Steve.
Lay this out for us. Give us a thumbnail of what this is about and why I should be concerned.
Okay. Well, the reason you should be concerned, it's a decision from the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. It is from the entire court, which means, I'm sorry, my voice is going a little. It's from the entire court, which means that it sat en banc, which means that the entire court heard the case and decided it. It was a split decision right down the middle, 5-4, in favor of upholding the conviction of a man who, due to an anonymous tip into the police, said that a man was seen, and this took place in West Virginia, where carrying a handgun is legal, saw a man with a handgun get into a car in an area that was known for drug transactions. The police, based only on that tip, stopped him, frisked him, found out that he was in possession of a handgun, and his possession was illegal because he was a felon. Now, that is something that they would not have known otherwise before they stopped him. They found that out after the fact. So he moved to suppress the stop, the search, the gun, and the district court initially granted it and said, yeah, this is an illegal search. You got nothing more than an anonymous tip. And the appellate court, the district court granted the motion. The appellate court initially overturned it and said, yes, this is a bad search. The entire court granted it. This is important because there's three opinions, the majority opinion, the concurring opinion, and the dissenting opinion, and they all seem to lead to the conclusion that basically you either have Second Amendment rights or you have Fourth Amendment rights, and you cannot have both. That the court says having a gun is a dangerous activity, therefore the police have the ability to protect themselves, therefore they can search anybody that they reasonably believe has a gun for whatever reason. And the court seemed to agree to that. This is important because ever since the two landmark Second Amendment cases coming from the Supreme Court, Heller, D.C. versus Heller, and McDonald versus Chicago, the Supreme Court has refused to hear any other Second Amendment cases. So the official position of the Supreme Court right now is that somebody has an individual right to a firearm, but that only extends to their house. There's no right further than that, and the states can regulate it. Now, and they refuse to hear any of those other cases. However, now you have a case where the state has said, yeah, we believe somebody does have a right to have a gun outside their house, and the feds are saying, well, the exception to the Fourth Amendment supersedes your Second Amendment rights to carry because of officer safety. And so they've kind of created two issues: Second Amendment versus Fourth Amendment, and officer safety versus the Second Amendment.
So that it makes it a mess. Here's what I'm concerned about, and I'm a little confused about, Edwin, and maybe you can explain. But when I listen to the left say stop and frisk is wrong, it violates human rights, blah, blah, blah. But stop and frisk finds guns, does it not? Stop and frisk finds illegal firearms. That's been the case in the pattern in all the cities that it was implemented in. And the left hates guns. So what is more important to the left? Stop and frisk, which if done across the board has been shown not to be unconstitutional. It's when you target certain groups that it crosses the line that the courts were not pleased with. Illegal gun ownership and possession, not legal. So how do they balance that out?
Well, that's actually, that's a great question. That is sort of, that will be the question of the day in the event the Supreme Court agrees to hear this case, which I believe they will. I think that this has finally ground down the issue of competing rights, and I think that there will be a lot of soul searching, if there is, on the Supreme Court, where justices who have traditionally been in favor of the Second Amendment and less in favor of the Fourth Amendment will have to deeply analyze which one of those rights they believe in more. And the same goes for the folks who are very, very supportive of the Fourth Amendment and are against stop and frisk and do believe that police officers have to have a reasonable suspicion of criminal activity versus their dislike of firearms. And this case perfectly brings that into focus. So it is just the type of case that the Supreme Court should take up and hear, because the circuits are split on this. There are some circuits which say, no, carrying a gun is illegal activity, does not form the basis of a proper stop and frisk. But then there are other courts like this one and like the Ninth Circuit that basically says Second Amendment doesn't mean a thing outside your house, so of course the police can stop you and search you.
Well, there you go. And of course, well, I guess we'll have to. When is this going to go to the court? When do you think it's going to make its way through? Because we have to keep an eye on this and see where it goes. What are your thoughts timetable-wise?
Well, the decision just came down this week. It came down on the 23rd, on Monday, and there'll be 90 days to apply for a writ of certiorari, which is basically a request to the Supreme Court that they hear the case. And so we will know whether or not the Supreme Court's going to take the case by at least the end of the court's term, this term, which will end in June. So we'll know whether or not it's going to be on next term's docket, which starts in October.
All right. Well, there you go. Edwin Walker, U.S. Law Shield. Fascinating case, and, it's going to pit one side against the other and one side against itself, as far as I can tell. Greatly appreciate it, Edwin. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for having me. It's always a pleasure.
All right. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll have Brian Crabtree, and we're going to have a woman's voice on the march in Washington over the weekend. Take a quick break here. You're listening to the Steve Gerber Show. Thanks for stopping in. We'll be right back.